This wheel shouldn't do that. So I'm not sure what happened, but I need to fix the inside. Whatever they put inside here is shot. So I'm gonna have to knock that out of there and make a new insert for this. Just gonna use this to try to knock out this piece. I don't know. Maybe you don't want to come out. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, so whatever this is, oh, nice. I suppose that's some kind of bearing material. I don't really know what it is, but that's going to go in the trash. So these wheels are the Never Flat wheels, and they are about $40 a piece. And this one isn't that old. I'm going to try to salvage this thing. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to have to make an insert for this. So I need to put some thought to this before I do anything else. I'm going to think off camera, and I'll be back. This is what I've decided to do. I have a piece of 1.5 inch round. I believe it's just A36 structural steel. It's nothing special. It should do perfectly fine for my purposes. 2 1/2-inch slices. Use those as inserts inside the hub. But first, I have to turn this down to the correct size that will fit inside the hub, which means that I need to cut off a longer piece so I can fit it in the lathe. And yes, in case you're wondering, I have set my grass on fire doing this. There's the chunk that I'll use. Before I can do anything with this, I have to deburr this. Using the chop saw, it leaves this nasty razor sharp flashing on the end there, and the other side is about the same. So I need to knock that off first, and then I'll be right back. One end is really crooked. I'm going to use that to go into the chuck. So the first thing I need to do is face the end, since it's not square. Most people face from the middle out. I'm facing from the outside in. Doesn't really matter. At least to me it doesn't matter. Now I'm just going to knock the corner off. Now the way you tell if your tool is on center is, sorry about the bad camera angles here, is when you face it, there should be no discernible bump in the middle of that, and it is perfectly smooth right across. The next thing I'm going to do is center drill it, and then we will bore a hole through there the size of the through bolt. I've set up a center drill. So this is the bolt that has to go through the center, and it is a 3/4 inch bolt, actually measuring just a little under 3/4. It's 10 thousandths under 3/4, so 0.740. So if I drill a 3/4 inch hole, that should be fine. I'm going 1 inch deep. Well, I'm probably going to go 1.5 inches deep, because I have to account for the angle of the the angle of the drill point. Okay, so this is the drill. This is a 3/4 inch drill bit. Now the web of the drill bit is over 1/8 of an inch thick. So if I were to just try to jam this in by itself, what happens is the very tip of the drill bit, this chisel point here, is just going to try to scrape the metal away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a 1/4 inch pilot hole that will be large enough to pass the web of the drill bit. That way when I'm drilling, I'm only drilling with the cutting edge of the drill bit. Oil over here. Oil the drill bit. Now when I go to drill this 3/4, I'm going to have to slow the machine down quite a bit. This is fine. So there's our pilot hole. What I've done here, since this is a very large drill bit, and I don't want all the pressure from this operation on my chuck or on the tailstock. So what I've done was I put a lathe dog on the drill bit, and that just clamps on the drill bit. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna take some of the pressure and push down right here on the top of my tool post. That's all that's for. And then as I move in and out, it'll just slide. All right, I've slowed the machine down quite a bit. Now we're gonna start drilling. Get some oil on. I might switch to my oil can. I'm just taking my time. See, there's a lot of chatter at first until it gets all the way in there. So now I've got my bolt, and I'm just going to check the fit. And that is just fine. Just fine. Okay, now I need to turn the outside diameter. And for that, we're going to use a carbide tool, because I have to take a lot of material off, and if I don't use a carbide tool, I'm going to be here forever. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a couple passes to get this actually round, because it's a little wonky. And for this, I'm going to go back into high gear. Now this is going to make some obnoxious noises when I do this, because we're going to put the gearbox on, and I'm going to take a lot of metal off pretty fast. That's better. Okay. Alright, do a little oil. Alright, I'm going to zip through this real quick. I need to get some kind of measurement here. 1.457. So I need to remove 57 thousandths. So let's get a better measurement. Okay. And that says 1.415. I'll take another 7 thousandths off. 1.4 and half a thousandths over. Now, I really wish that I could put the wheel up here, because this is an 11-inch diameter wheel. So I just pulled this out and checked it against the hub, and I think it's fine. I think it's going to be a tight press fit, which is exactly what I want. So we're going to chamfer this pretty good on the inside and outside. We're going to try to cut it off. Now the reason I did that was to make it easier to press these into the hub. So the next thing is the cutoff tool. Okay. Come in here, we're going to measure 1/2 inch. That's an 1/8 inch wide tool. So that's going to take up, I'm going to lose a 1/4 inch when I'm going to lose an 1/8 inch of material when I cut this off. That's why I drilled it so deep, to account for that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to feed this in. I'm going to make a deep groove. I'm not going to part it all the way. And then I'm going to come in with a 45-degree tool and chamfer the edges. That's the plan. Oh, there's one other thing I have to do. Okay, so it's very important that the tool is perfectly square with the work. So I forgot to do that. So I'm going to do that up against the chuck here. So what I do is I get a parallel, and I'm going to lay this along the tool. And yes, it is definitely not square. So I will take my wrench. Because if it's not square, it will make a beveled cut, and that's the last thing you want. Okay. All right, so now that is square to the chuck. I'm square to the chuck, and now what I'd like to do is check it that it's square to the work. Should be the same thing. Should be the same thing. And this is a little tricky because of the angles here. And let's see, how am I going to do this? Like this. Okay. Lay that there. Back this all the way out. So there's my work. That's good. Okay. Especially when you're making deep cuts like this, it has to be square. If it was really thin material, it wouldn't be a big deal. I'm cutting through probably 3/8 of an inch of material, and I don't want it to be beveled. I want it to be straight. So now I'll come back in here. Come up to my 1/2 inch mark. Right there, close enough. The reason I picked 1/2 inch is because the hub, if I push that in 1/2 inch, that should be plenty of support. And also over on this side there's a grease fitting, and I'm hoping to be able to still use the grease fitting. Slow and steady wins the race with this one. Oh, and also helps to lock the carriage so nothing moves. The other trick is you can't let it rub. You got to keep going. And I use lots of oil. Now this is where my machine does not appreciate this at all. I mean, seriously, it complains. I've broken tools because of this. But I find the biggest thing is you have to keep it going. If you hear it rubbing, that's bad. But that went, I shouldn't say this, but that went remarkably well. Okay, so this just has a little bit of a piece of flash there. So what I've done is I've cleaned up the hub on the inside and the outside. And now what I'm going to do is I want to attempt to press these in place. The hub itself is not even round. It's out of whack. So it should go in, and then I think I want to tack weld it in place. Maybe a little more than tack weld. We'll see. We'll see how this this metal is Chinesium, I'm sure. So who knows what's in it. Now, please don't laugh at my old arbor press. This is, unfortunately, all I have to work with here. I just don't have room in my shop for a larger piece of equipment. I don't know if this is too big or not. That's good. Just right. All right, that fit right in. That's good. It's flush. The real test will be when I put the bolt through, if it lines up. Use the side that has the good chamfer on it. Yeah, see, this is just, it doesn't need a whole lot of pressure to put that in there. That's all it took. So I think I might weld this in place. And the grease fitting, I don't know, it might work. They sure did a cheesy job of putting that grease fitting in there. Okay, so I'm going to clean this up with some alcohol or lacquer thinner, and we're going to tack weld that together just so it can't go anywhere. Let's see if the bolt fits through. Nah, piece of cake. Okay, that's infinitely better. So what I did was I just cleaned this up a little bit with my angle grinder. I was hoping that the grease fitting would go back in, but it's just such a chewed up mess. It's not fitting anymore. So I'm just going to pack this with grease, and when it needs to be greased, I'm just going to have to pull the bolt out of it and re-grease it. But it should be fine. So right now I'm going to get some grease and I'm going to load this thing up. Hard to believe, I've almost used all of my red grease. Now, can I touch this? There's the space in between the two bushings. I'm just filling that up with grease. Dust caps and put them on for whatever they're worth, which ain't much. Okay, and now we need to figure out some spacers. So now these you don't tighten all the way, because that's not how they work. So you have to, you're relying on the nylock. Okay, that's probably good right there. Okay, another repair finished. That took me way too long, but unfortunately it's something that had to be done. Thank you for watching my little repair video. Maybe you found it useful. If you did, leave me a comment. Thank you very much, and we'll see you later.